What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Work the Crowd podcast. I am one of your hosts, Douglas Harden, and virtually now is Mr. Jacob Klukas.
Yep, I'm no longer to your left or to your right.
No, I got to quit saying that. You're just on the other side
I'm across
of
from you.
really the city.
Well, actually, technically, if you look at both of our screens, like right now, I am to the right of you. So
You are to the right of me. Yep.
So technically still am.
Yep. Right, guys. Well, so our last week episode was about the Super Bowl preview. We had Zach on talking about that. This episode is about our reactions to the Super Bowl, which I'm sure we'll both have some pretty good takes on that. And then we're going to talk about the NFL awards and all the awards that were given out last week. And then we're going to talk about a little something extra with the Mavs. Got some different news there. So let's go ahead and get going. Lucas, you can start wherever you want, buddy.
I guess let's just dive right into it. Let's talk about the Super Bowl reactions. And the best way to put it, and I don't mean this like in a bad way towards the Eagles, but what a boring game to watch.
It was.
Well,
somewhat.
Well, that's what I said. For Eagles fans, it was great. So
Yeah.
for, your guys like Zach, who we had on last week, big Eagles fan. Shout out to Scotty, another big Eagles fan. Probably not boring to watch for them, but, for football fans who don't have a dog in the fight watching the game, it's a pretty boring game to watch. We expected more out of Mahomes. We expected at least a close game. Not saying that the game couldn't have gotten out of hand like later in the game, but for that game to have gone the way that it did from start to finish was honestly shocking. And it's a big credit to Philadelphia, big credit to their defense. Their defense, if you could have, and it's no disrespect to Jalen Hurts, and please don't think I'm hating Jalen Hurts by saying this, but if you could have given out the MVP to just like the entire defense, that was the reason they won. And Cooper DeJean, the rookie, made a lot of plays, including the pick six. Made a lot of good plays in the punt return game as well. Jalen Hurts played phenomenal outside of the one bad interception early, which probably for a lot of people, when he threw that pick, probably thought that was going to bring some life back into Kansas City and make this a game. Unfortunately for them, that Eagles defense wasn't having it. So Jalen Hurts played phenomenal outside of that bad interception. And pretty much what I summarized this Super Bowl up to is that I think the Chiefs, and this is what makes the Eagles just so dangerous, and this is what people kind of expected from the Ravens this year, is the Chiefs honed in and said, we are not going to let Saquon Barkley beat us. And they, for the most part, pretty much did not allow Saquon Barkley to do anything. The problem is you had Jalen Hurts, who can do something as well. You have A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith on the outside. And this is kind of what people expected out of the Ravens this year when we talked about, having to make your decision on Lamar or Derrick Henry. And it pretty much boiled down to the same thing. You had to make your decision on either Saquon or Jalen Hurts. And the Chiefs all game made their decision that it's going to be, we're going to take Saquon out of this game. And it let Jalen Hurts just run wild. And be able to do whatever he wants. And, again, shout out to Jalen Hurts. Played a great game. Well-deserved MVP. But this was just a bad performance by Mahomes, by Andy Reid, by Spagnuolo, by Kelsey, by the whole Chiefs. This was just, they picked the worst time to have their worst game probably in the last 3 years.
Yeah, they didn't. I think I heard in the second half, one of the announcers said the Chiefs hadn't even crossed midfield until like third quarter, like almost the end of the third quarter or something.
Yeah. People were joking during the halftime show saying Serena Williams crip walking had made more yards than the Chiefs had in the first half. It was bad. Even if you go back to that Tampa Bay Super Bowl when they played the Bucks, that was a pretty bad loss for them as well, but I don't think they were this bad.
No.
And it was honestly shocking to watch, and just watching it just made you think like, but here's the sad part too as well. And because me and you were kind of texting during this game as well, despite what the score was and how it was looking, we were just waiting for all right, they're going to come back. Like, Mahomes isn't going to stay like this forever. And again, credit to the Eagles. He stayed like this forever. And the Chiefs have a lot to address. And I know this is weird saying a team that's been to the Super Bowl, the last 3 years, 3 out of the last 5 years, has a lot to work on this offseason. But I mean, they do. They've got to fix that offensive line. Because now twice out of the last 5 years they've been to the Super Bowl, they've been manhandled on the offensive line, and that's why they lost. So they've got a lot to address with this O-line. I think offensively, if Kelsey leaves, they'll find another tight end to fill in that spot. Obviously, you can't fill what Kelsey does completely, but they'll find another tight end to fill that spot. I think they get Rashee Rice back next year, who's coming back off injury, which will be huge. And then that defense, as long as they can keep everybody intact, will still be a big factor. I mean, the Chiefs are still going to be always a team to watch out for every year. Probably going to be, if not your absolute favorite, one of the favorites that come out of the AFC every year. And now for the Eagles, they pretty much have to go through what they just went through 2 years ago. And when I'm saying that is, the last time the Eagles went to the Super Bowl, they lost to the Chiefs. Now they had to deal with players wanting contracts, coaches leaving for head coaching jobs. As far as I know, Vic Fangio isn't leaving anywhere, so that's a huge piece to not lose their defensive coordinator. But Kellen Moore's going to the Saints now. Who do they hire as their offensive coordinator to take over this? And I know it's easy for everybody to just go, well, it doesn't really matter. You've got A.J. Brown and Saquon, and it does still matter because they had that last year minus Saquon, and the Eagles struggled. So they are going to have to find an offensive coordinator. But yeah, it was just a dominating performance from start to finish from the Eagles, and it was honestly very impressive.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I was pretty happy to see Saquon and I think and Hurts win one. But I was more excited to watch the Chiefs lose. I know that sounds terrible, but I mean, they were going for the three-peat. Everybody hates, you kind of expected the Chiefs I expect them to win by like at least, pretty close, I guess, but to lose like this was like holy shit. The GOAT debate is now over, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah. So I'm glad you brought that up. So Mahomes just played, and I tweeted this right after the game. So I want you to listen to these stats because they're very eerily similar still, besides a couple categories. So Mahomes and Brady, first 5 Super Bowls. So both of them were 3-2 in their first 5. All right. Brady, his completion percentage was 64.4%. Mahomes 65.3. So pretty much very, very much the same, pretty much right there. Brady had thrown for 1,277 yards. Mahomes 1,328 yards. And where I think that's more impressive for Brady is because in Brady's first 5 Super Bowls is when they weren't throwing the ball that much. That was still everybody in the league was very run heavy.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that he had thrown for that many yards in those Super Bowls still is an amazing thing in comparison to now. Both had 9 passing touchdowns. Brady 2 interceptions, Mahomes 7 interceptions. So there's the
that's
first.
A lot.
There's the first big difference right there. Brady had a 93.8 passer rating, Mahomes 85.2 passer rating. Brady has been sacked 10 times in those first 5 Super Bowls. Mahomes 16 times in those first 5 Super Bowls. But here's the biggest one. So again, they're both 3-2. So in the 2 losses that Brady had, the average margin of victory for the other team was 3.5. The average margin of victory for the other teams against Mahomes and the Chiefs is 20.
So when they lost big.
So when Mahomes loses, he's getting absolutely obliterated. Versus when Brady lost, it was, we saw, because the 2 times he lost in his first 5 were both to the Giants.
Mm-hmm.
And we both watched those. So we know all about the helmet catch, the David Tyree helmet catch. We know about how close that second Super Bowl game was. It took an Ahmad Bradshaw late touchdown run to put the Patriots up, or put the Patriots away. So when they lost, they barely lost. But when Mahomes and them lose, they are getting destroyed. So
Yeah, I
And
think that's the big difference there.
yeah, and so and Shannon and Stephen A. and them said earlier this week, they said as far as a GOAT debate, for a minimum of 3 to 5 years, we're done talking about it. Now, if Mahomes were to go to the next 3 Super Bowls and win all 3, we're probably opening it back up.
Yep. Yep.
But for at least 3 to 5 years, you stop comparing Brady to Mahomes, because Brady is in a different category. And so I don't know if you had a chance. So Brady was on Colin's show
I did see a little
right
bit of
before
it.
the Super Bowl, and he was talking about by the time he had gotten to his last Super Bowl in Tampa Bay against Kansas City, he said what separates the all-time great quarterbacks from just great quarterbacks is, how much film do you watch? And he said, and Brady had said, in that Super Bowl and against the Chiefs, he knew what the Chiefs were going to do on defense before the Chiefs even knew what they were going to do on defense.
Oh yeah, I did see that.
And he said, I could tell you exactly what they were going to do just based on how a linebacker lined up, how a safety lined up, and that's what separates you. And this is what the other thing, and this is what Mahomes didn't have on Sunday. Pitchers, great pitchers in baseball have multiple pitches that they can go to. And there are some pitchers in baseball that only have a fastball. And if that fastball is working, they are extremely dangerous. If it's not, though, it could be bad. And the problem on Sunday was Mahomes only had a fastball and it wasn't working. He didn't have a second pitch he could go to. And Brady was calling it all night. I mean, how many times throughout that game did you watch where he would get sacked and they would go immediately right back to the replay, and Brady would tell you could just tell by his feet right here, he has no confidence in his offensive line. Like, I mean,
Yeah, I mean they said that the Eagles didn't blitz one time. All they did was rush 4 the whole night.
And that's insane.
Insane. How many times did they sack him?
8 times, I think they said.
That's wild.
8 times and no blitz.
No, not one time did they blitz, and they sacked him 8 times.
I mean, it's honestly, when I heard that at the end of the game, I was honestly more shocked by that than I was watching the overall performance.
I mean, who do you blame there? Do you blame Andy Reid and the offensive line, like the offensive line coaching, or do you blame the offensive line themselves, or do you blame Mahomes because he's not getting rid of the ball? Or you just give that much credit to the Eagles defense?
I think it's more so you give that much credit to the Eagles defense, but at the same time, you have to know going in, as Andy Reid, as the offensive line coach, and even as Patrick Mahomes, this defensive line for Philly is damn good.
Yeah.
And you have to know your offensive line has not been a strong suit all year. And so you have to know, like, hey, I have got to get the ball out like that, or I don't stand a chance.
Yeah, I mean, but again, that is, I mean, maybe he should have audibled to some different plays for some shorter routes. But I mean, to me, that's like on the offensive coordinator, right? Who's calling the plays?
Yeah.
I mean, you gotta know that he has to get the ball out in under 3 seconds.
But the problem is Andy Reid is calling the plays mostly.
Right. So that's why I go back to my point. I'm like, okay, so at some point there was no coaching change. Like there was no change made. They just kept trying to do the same thing.
Well, and here's my thing. At the end of the game, when
the
Chiefs finally started scoring, they started scoring because they took the top off the defense,
right,
and threw deep balls to Xavier Worthy. And I'm just like, I'm sitting there watching, and I get it. Maybe end of the game, maybe Eagles are dropping back into softer coverage, maybe. But you're telling me that wasn't there all game, or at least a couple times, like, because I guarantee you. And now, granted, for those deep balls, you do have to be able to stand in the pocket a little bit longer to be able to allow that play to develop. But at the same time, you get that off 1 or 2 times during the course of the game. That changes the whole.
Keep them honest.
Yeah, it changes the whole defense. So, I mean, yeah, I find it hard to believe that they couldn't do that at all throughout the course of the game. But at the same time, again, I give all credit to the Eagles defense, and that's just where this boils down to.
Yeah, no, they played phenomenal. I mean, every facet of the game. I mean, what's their kicker's name again?
Jake Elliott.
Yeah, Jake Elliott. I mean, he played phenomenal too. He hit every.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think he missed one field goal.
So with Jake Elliott, a couple years ago, it was actually, I think he was drafted the same year in 2016 as, Ezekiel Elliott and Carson Wentz and all them.
Yeah.
And he's been with them since then. So there was a guy I used to watch on YouTube. Used to be funny because he was an diehard Eagles fan. And he would do like reactions to the games every Sunday. So he would always start, or like before the Eagles game, he would always do like whatever the Cowboys game was. And that was the year that Zeke was like arguably best running back in football his rookie year. And then we get to the Eagles game, and the Eagles would win like off a game-winning field goal from Jake Elliott, and he would always call Jake Elliott the only Elliott in the NFL, and the only Elliott in the NFC that matters.
That's funny.
So, but yeah, I mean, again, boring game to watch from the outside looking in if you're not a fan of the Eagles, but dominating from a chance to step back and really look at it and go, yeah, they absolutely manhandled the Chiefs, because that's exactly what they did. And like I said, with the Chiefs, they're not going away. Listen,
No,
if the Eagles can, keep everybody intact or keep majority of them intact, the Eagles aren't going away either. The only thing that the Eagles have going against them is this NFC East curse that goes on, that I think for like the last 22 years or something, there's never been a repeat winner of the NFC East. So, I mean, we're talking, I'll have to look up the exact number. Let's see, how many years since a different NFC East winner. So let's see, the NFC East, no repeat team has won since 2004. So the Eagles won the division from 01 to 04. Since then, we have never had a repeat winner in the division. So the Eagles just won the division this year. So we're looking at, I mean, I don't want to just not count out. I just don't want to count out the Giants, but you kind of say they don't really have a chance. So you got to say Commanders or Cowboys are your betting favorites to win the division next year, just based off what history tells us, which doesn't necessarily put the Eagles out. They're gonna make the playoffs, but it makes their road a little bit harder, because now you're talking wild card and they got to play on the road instead of having home games. So maybe they break that curse though next year. Who knows? So yeah. So shout out the Eagles. They dominated from start to finish. Shout out Zach. Zach didn't want to say the Eagles were going to blow out the Chiefs. He tried to stay humble. He didn't necessarily stay that way throughout the game via text messages, but hey, I don't blame him either. If that was my team, I probably would have been doing the same thing.
Yep. Yeah, so, I agree.
But I will say though, as far as not being my team is the only team Mahomes hasn't beat in the regular season. So AR, all you gotta do is figure it out.
Or Justin Fields when we sign him.
Yeah, or one of.
So let's talk about halftime show.
Oh my God, dude!
Listen, I mean, the entire thing was just Kendrick blasting Drake the entire time.
So here's my thing. People were saying, and this halftime show sucks. Well, here's the thing.
I liked it.
I loved it.
Yeah.
And I'm a Drake fan.
Right.
So, but the thing is, even throughout all the beef, I like both. I've always liked Kendrick. I've always liked Drake. For me, for both of them, when they were beefing, it was just, hey, regardless they're beefing, this is just great music for me both ways.
Both of them had put out some bangers, really.
So don't care. This is just them doing this is just getting me quicker, more faster way of getting more Kendrick and Drake music. That's just all it was for me. But listen, if you were 45 and up, you weren't going to understand this halftime show.
No, they didn't get it.
You weren't going to understand this halftime show. And my thing was, and the other side of that is, so people were saying, well, nobody knew the song choices. Okay. Well, then what have you been doing the last couple months or the last year? Because these are literally every song he played minus maybe two were recent songs.
Also, and Kendrick just won 5 Grammys.
Right. And that's my other thing. And they're like, well, why didn't he play any of his old stuff? Well, I'm sorry that this guy just won 5 Grammys off every song he just played.
I mean, won five Grammys.
So, I mean, yeah, he's going to play what is hitting. And yeah, I mean, you could say, well, why would he take his entire platform to just dish Drake? I mean, why not? Again, it won him 5 Grammys. Why wouldn't you?
Yeah, he. I think when I saw the stats on it, it was like I think it was top 10, like viewed halftime show. I mean, I think it's top 10 all time halftime performance.
Yeah.
If you know what's going on with the beef and you actually break down what each piece of the show, like the halftime show, was, which was very elaborate.
And that's the thing. And why
It was really well done.
So I think there's a couple reasons why people didn't like the halftime show. One, because when people watch a halftime show, they're more so looking for a performance. Kendrick's not a performer per se. Now, hold on. He's not a performer in terms of, the dancing and everything else to go along with it. Now, where he is a phenomenal performer is you have to look and you have to specifically look for details within the performance to truly understand how great this performance was. And that's why I said if you're 45 and up, you weren't going to understand this.
Well, the beauty of social media is that if anybody even if you're under, let's just say you're under 45 or you're over 45 and you have social media, there's a lot of videos out there that broke down the performance about each thing. And I think I watched one reaction from it and he didn't know anything about the beef beforehand. But then he made a video afterwards after he researched it, and he was like, I am now a Kendrick fan. I was like, dude, you have to take your
it's
hat
from
off
the little stuff. Like his opening stage set is the X. I mean, if you don't know what that is, that's brilliant.
Uncle.
Yeah. Having
it was
not only that. So yeah, you have Uncle Sam, but part of that and why that's so great is Samuel L. Jackson and Trump hate each other.
Yeah.
And you got Samuel L. Jackson while Trump is in the building to be a part of that and play his role.
Because Drake says in his song, "Where's your uncle at? I want to talk to the man at house."
Yeah.
So he played on that.
Well, see, people were doing that, and they were essentially saying that because of Trump being in the building and then the whole Drake thing, that Samuel L. Jackson was playing his like Django role.
Oh yeah, I can see that.
And so I mean that, and the A minor necklace, the A minor key necklace. That is brilliant. And then to have all of us just go, I mean, literally, we were watching, me, Teasley, and Cornell, and all them. We were watching the whole time when he starts playing "Not Like Us." Obviously, we're all hyped. Great song. For him to drop Drake's name, okay, with Drake threatening a lawsuit if he even played the song in general. Then for this man, I want you to know the reaction that was in the room when Serena Williams hit the TV screen, crip walking. That is every one of us. She got showed twice in that little 30-second span. Every one of us in the room were like, "Wait a minute, was that Serena?" And we even had to rewind, and we went back and looked, and we were like, "Oh my God, he brought Serena out here."
Yeah, they cut to her. They cut to her, and then for a few seconds, and then they went to another scene, and then cut back to her again. That's when people were like, "Oh, it was Serena," and they used to. Her and Drake used to.
They used to be a thing.
Yeah, and just a thing.
Now the only thing that was fucked up about it is if you went back and looked on social media, is they said that they had Serena Williams crip walking, and the bad part about that is that Serena Williams is, I think her other sister, was it her sister or brother, one of the two, died from a crip gang, got shot.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
So they were the fact that she would even agree to do that was amazing. But it's just the small little details. And look, I get it. Some older people and even people our age that just have that older mentality, you weren't going to understand it. And I get it.
If you don't like rap music, I mean,
and you're not gonna like it. I get it. And it's one of those. And the halftime show was just one of those things. Look, we'll have to just agree to a disagree. It's fine. But
yeah,
it was a great halftime show.
Oh, I thought it was great. Yeah.
So
he kept you on your seat. He performed Not Like Us at the end. You're like, is he gonna do it? Is he gonna do it? He even tease it in the middle. It was.
And then the other small little detail to turn his TV off at the very end as the screen goes to a commercial.
That, and it says "Game Over" in the stand. You see that?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was well done. Hats off to to Kendrick for that performance.
I mean, people had said it on social media, and like I don't blame. Like Drake is gonna have to crash out. Like,
well, they did some videos because he was in Australia when that happened. I mean, his show looked pretty lit too.
And he just dropped today his not his album, but like his playlist from the album he's getting ready to drop. So we'll see.
So well, yeah, I bet there has to be something on there.
There's got to be something.
You can't just let the man.
Can't let this man go up there and perform not like us at the Grammys and the Super Bowl and have everybody saying A minor and not have a response.
The whole stadium.
So, all right. So from the Super Bowl to now the NFL awards, and let me tell you, these awards just absolutely grind my gears.
Tell us why.
Excuse me. Where you want to start, Doug?
Let's save the MVP for last. You want to save the MVP for last?
Okay.
So let's just start anywhere besides that.
So let's go. We won't do like. Well, hold on. Let me scroll down here. So, I mean, let's just go through the ones where I'm like agreeing with, like for the most part. So, like the AP Coach of the Year, Ben Johnson from the Lions. Okay, yeah, I'm okay with that. Let's see. Sorry, scrolling. Our Defensive Rookie of the Year, Jared Verse from the Rams. 100% okay with. Absolutely agree, or absolutely deserves it. The AP Offensive Rookie of the Year went to Jaden Daniels. Now, I know a couple weeks ago we said Jaden Daniels has an argument for best rookie year ever, and he does, and that includes everything that he's done. But I'm going to read off something, because this is the difference between what Bo Nix did and Jaden Daniels, okay? So, Bo Nix this year, 3,775 passing yards. Jaden Daniels, 3,568. Bo Nix, 29 passing touchdowns. Jaden Daniels, 25. Total touchdowns, Bo Nix, 35. Jaden Daniels, 31. Wins, they both had 10 wins. Strength of schedule from this year, and it's based off the opponent's like record for the year. Bo Nix's opponents finished at 50%. Jaden Daniels, 43.6. And then they put on here that Bo obviously plays in a tougher division in the AFC West. Bo Nix didn't get a single vote for Offensive Rookie of the Year. And where we go into the category of best rookie year ever, we also include the playoffs. Now, but these awards were cut off before the playoffs. So, and I didn't realize, I guess I didn't even think to look that Bo Nix was having this good of a year to even look at him. For him not to get a single vote is kind of insane. Now, I still would have picked Jaden Daniels, obviously, but because they're not going to factor in his rushing yards along with this either. But, I mean, Bo Nix had a case, and for him not to even get a vote is kind of insane.
Yeah, I didn't know he didn't get one single vote. That is kind of wild.
So, AP Defensive Player of the Year is Patrick Surtain. Well deserved. And where I thought this was honestly, and me and my buddy Les had talked about this a little bit, because usually Defensive Player of the Year goes to a pass rusher. It's kind of like your MVP, like where your quarterback gets a lot of love. But like I told him, I said, but no defensive end really this year, no pass rusher really had an insane year to say they were Defensive Player of the Year. And his argument was, well, Trey Hendrickson this year, who was the NFL sack leader, had the same amount of sacks as Myles Garrett did last year. And he won Defensive Player of the Year. And I think the only difference between those two is the Browns, I think, were top 3 in total defense last year. So they were saying he was the catalyst of a top 3 defense versus the Bengals defense was kind of god awful. And yeah, it's still impressive for Hendrickson to get this many sacks, but they weren't that good. So they were just saying, basically what the voters were saying is, great amount of sacks, but it's not really enough because the defense wasn't there. So, but Pat Surtain, I mean, he only had 4 interceptions this year. Even for a corner to win this off not having as many interceptions, is actually amazing as well. So they had to actually dive deep into analytics to pick Patrick Surtain to win that award, and I'm for it. Love
Yep.
it. Surtain's the best corner in football in my mind. So, I mean, teams literally don't even throw to his side of the field. AP Offensive Player of the Year went to Saquon Barkley. We knew that was going to essentially happen.
Right.
My only issue, Jamar Chase won the Triple Crown this year. Led the league in receptions, led the league in yards, led the league in receiving touchdowns. He did not get one single first place vote.
Wow.
Saquon led the way with 35 first place votes. And when I read the rest of these off to you, the last one, the MVP, is going to make my case even stronger. So Saquon had 35 first place votes, which is why he won. 12 went to Lamar Jackson. 1 went to Derrick Henry. 1 went to Josh Allen. 1 went to Joe Burrow. 0 to Jamar Chase. Not saying Saquon shouldn't have won. Obviously should have won. But for Jamar to not even get a first place vote.
Yeah, that
for winning the Triple Crown. When just a couple years ago when Cooper Kupp won or did it, we handed him the Offensive Player of the Year.
Who votes for these? Do you know?
The AP.
Who's the AP?
I don't know exactly. It's made up of a bunch of people that get a vote, and I don't know who these people are.
I mean, I guess clearly they don't understand how hard that is for Jamar Chase to do because it doesn't happen like that often.
No, and that's the thing. Like that was my argument a couple years ago when, or like 10. I guess now it's 10 years ago. Wow, it's honestly shocking. So like when Russell Westbrook averaged a triple double and won MVP, that first year winning MVP, I said sure he can win it. First person to average a triple double since Oscar Robertson. Okay. But the problem was when everybody kept saying, well, he's still averaging a triple double years after that. I'm like, yeah, but here's the thing. Now, the more he does it, the more common it gets. So I can't just go, well, that's an amazing feat. Yeah. So if every year a wide receiver was winning and or flirting with a triple crown, I could understand your argument of not voting for that guy because now it's becoming a more likely thing. This isn't a likely thing. I get it. It just happened a couple of years ago, but even still, it hasn't happened or come close since then. So I don't know.
It's just the fact that he didn't get one vote.
Not saying he should have won it.
Saquon deserves it. Yeah.
But AP Comeback Player of the Year was Joe Burrow. That was a no-brainer.
He probably wants to quit winning that award.
Yeah, probably. Coach of the Year was Kevin O'Connell of the Vikings, and I'm 100% for that as well. Which now brings us to the last one. And before I get into my stuff, Doug, I'm going to let you go and what your thoughts on Josh Allen winning the MVP was.
I mean, I want to first start out by saying both of them deserved the award. I mean, Josh Allen did, I think, have a fantastic year, and he was the most valuable player on his team, without a doubt. They don't have Josh Allen. The Bills don't get anywhere near close to where they were in the AFC championship game. But it shouldn't take away from the fact that Lamar just had a better year. And again, I know that he has Derrick Henry, and that probably played a factor in some of these people's votes. But you can't. The numbers, the statistics, if you're going to use analytics, will speak for themselves, and I'm sure you're going to ramble those off here in just a second. But I'm not mad that he won it, but I feel like people had a hard time giving Lamar his third MVP. And I think because it's people voting. They're like, man, we got to give him another one. Like, I feel like that's how they were. And they're like, let's just give it to Josh. He deserved it too.
Yeah, but so my biggest thing, and so somebody, when I was talking to them, when I said, they're like you, where they like both players. And they were like, well, they're probably just, we just had to give Josh one because Lamar has so many. And I said, okay, well, that thought process, and I said, and with all due respect, that stupid ass thought process is the reason why guys like Jordan, Kobe, LeBron don't have more MVPs than what they probably should.
Because they didn't want to pick him again?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it shouldn't be human voting anymore. If I'm honest opinion.
So
use all analytics.
So here's my thing. So one of the reasons I read on social media that Josh Allen won it was Well, Josh Allen showed up in more meaningful games than Lamar did. Okay. So let's dive into that. I have Josh Allen playing 5 games in the regular season against playoff teams. Okay, teams that made the playoffs this year. 5 games. In those 5 games, Josh Allen went 2-3 record-wise. Okay? And in those games, he averaged a 57% completion percentage for 255 yards passing, averaged about 1 passing touchdown a game, no interceptions, essentially 0.2, but essentially 0, while also averaging about 8 carries for 56 yards and about 1 rushing touchdown per game. All right, good numbers. Lamar played 10 games in the regular season against playoff teams. Now, one of those, or he played 9 teams. He played them 10 times because one of them was the Steelers, who they play in division. They play twice.
Yep.
In those games, in the 10 games, Lamar went 7-3 while having a 69% completion percentage, averaging 231 passing yards per game, 2 passing touchdowns, again, about 0 interceptions. It was 0.3, while also averaging 8 carries for 52 yards and about 1 touchdown per game, and was 7-3 in those games. Not to mention, Josh Allen this year, based off team record of the scheduled opponents they played, was tied for 27th in strength of schedule. In the games Lamar played, and based off team record, 8th hardest strength of schedule. All right, so Lamar had the 8th hardest strength of schedule based on the teams he won. I said, so yeah, so he had a few less yards than Josh Allen, but Lamar played in more meaningful games against better teams, put up the same numbers minus a few yards, won those big games 7 out of 10 times. Between that and you go back and look at his all-around stats, which we've looked at that, all-around stats blow Josh Allen out of the water. I said the MVP should have easily gone to Lamar. Also, and this is also another big no-brainer, like I told you earlier, first of all, Lamar finished 2nd in first place voting in Offensive Player of the Year. Josh Allen got 12 votes, while Josh Allen got 1. So we're telling me Lamar is good enough to win Offensive Player of the Year over Josh Allen, but not good enough to win MVP over Josh Allen. Then not only that, all pro teams come out before these awards. You know who wasn't on the first team all pro? The MVP. Make that make sense. Your MVP of the league was 2nd team all pro. How does that work? This is why, this was like back in 2012 when we all said LeBron should have won Defensive Player of the Year. LeBron made first team all defense. The guy that won the Defensive Player of the Year award was 2nd team all defense. Where does that make sense? Lamar was first team all pro. Josh Allen was 2nd team all pro. That right there should have been the clear-cut indicator that Lamar should have won MVP.
Yeah. I'm not saying he shouldn't have won it. I'm just saying I'm not completely mad that Josh won it. It's just it shouldn't have hurt Lamar that he's already won 2. And I think that's really remote. Like when it boils down to it, I think that's what it was. So again, it's human interaction, right?
I hate the voter fatigue reasoning as to why we don't give people awards. It honestly bothers me. My thing is, I'm sorry, if you're tired of watching this guy win the MVP award, then somebody else has to stop him from winning
it. Yeah. Yep. It is what it is. I mean, you can't do anything about it. But I like your take's spot on, and I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that think the same.
And again, let's also keep in mind, I've been labeled in the past as a Lamar hater.
You have, yes. I can attest to that.
I mean, and I'm sitting up here defending my life for Lamar.
I know. I'm shocked, to be honest.
So, I mean, it's just, and also, I've never been an actual Lamar hater. People just, when you say one, and this is the same thing that, and I because I know Haley's going to listen, It's the same thing I had to just tell Haley. Like, just because I don't agree with somebody's take on a certain person doesn't mean I hate that person.
Yeah.
That's just my only thing. This is sports. This is, it's okay to disagree with somebody. But
What? No.
and also it makes sports a little bit more entertaining when you disagree with people.
Oh, it does.
So, but for Zach and for Haley, Jalen Hurts has climbed up my ladder, so everybody can calm down. He hasn't left the star tier, I'll tell you that. But as far as like overall top 32 rankings, he has climbed up my rankings. So
yeah, I'm glad he has, because I mean, he's done what Lamar and Josh Allen couldn't so far, is win a Super Bowl and beat Patrick Mahomes in a big game. I know Josh Allen did that, or no, actually, did he? I don't think. Did he beat him one year?
What?
Did Josh Allen beat Mahomes in a playoff game one year?
No, he's never beat Mahomes in the playoffs.
Yeah. So Hurts has done what both of those guys couldn't do. Yeah, but we'll see what happens next year. I mean, honestly, I don't see it being any different. I mean, theoretically,
I do.
I mean, Joe Burrow's going to have a say in this. I think he's going to have a good year.
I think,
but
Joe Burrow's going to have a say in it. I don't know what it is, and again, maybe I'm just growing up a love for it, but I think Lamar and Derrick Henry are going to have something to say about it next year.
I hope so. I mean, I want Lamar to win a Super Bowl as bad as anybody.
So,
yeah.
And also, real quick, going back to the Super Bowl, I heard somebody say, or I saw multiple people say on social media, oh, if Buffalo or Baltimore were here instead of Kansas City, this game would have been much more entertaining. No, it wouldn't have. If Philly did that to Kansas City, they were doing that to Baltimore or Buffalo. I mean,
the only thing,
maybe not as bad, but
the only thing that I guess would be a difference maker is that Mahomes is less of a threat with his legs as Allen or Jackson is.
Sure, and probably you're going to have to blitz Lamar. You can't just rush 4 against Lamar, and
if you can't. No, he'll just have a field day with running the ball. And you have Derrick Henry, who is 3 times a better running back than who's their running back. Who's the Chiefs running back?
Well, they were using Pacheco and Kareem Hunt, so
yeah. So I mean, Derrick Henry is better than both of them. So I think that would have been different. But I mean, other than that, I think the way the Eagles defense played in that game, it wouldn't have mattered.
It wasn't going to matter. But all right, so closing story before we wrap things up. A new development in the potential reason why the Mavericks traded Luka. So I'm going to read this off, Doug, and I want you to give me your thoughts after I read this. All right.
Yep.
So this is the notes. So Mavs owner wants the Mavs arena, the new Mavs owner. Keep in mind, the new Mavs owner just bought out Cuban as far as majority owner. So they wanted a new arena. They want the new arena inside a casino, basically. They wanted to build a new arena in Dallas, and they wanted to build it inside of a casino, basically. The state of Texas said no. All right. Mavs ownership needed some leverage to make this happen, said that they'll move to Vegas if they don't get what they want. All right. So this was an empty threat. The NBA would not allow Luka's Mavs to leave Dallas. So if there's no more Luka and no good future assets in return, a couple years from now, when they get to try again for their casino, the state of the Mavs will be looking bad. They'll try again for the casino in Texas. If they don't get it, they'll just do it in Vegas, and the NBA won't say no. And they're saying basically that this is their way of holding leverage. They got rid of Luka because if they're saying, all right, we're this bad, it's not really making a difference. Just let us build the casino. And if Dallas or the state of Texas still says no, okay, we'll just go to Vegas. And I think basically what will happen is it'll be kind of like the Browns-Ravens situation in the NFL where the Browns got up and moved to Baltimore and, we still had the Browns, we still have the Ravens. I think you'll still have the Dallas Mavericks. You'll just have this Dallas team will be in Vegas and you'll have your Vegas team finally. But kind of a wild theory. It kind of also makes a little sense. What are your thoughts, Doug?
I mean, honestly, that's kind of a weird conspiracy. I mean, I guess it makes sense if the state of Texas already said no, if there's proof of that, and they're trying to force their hand pretty much and saying, look, ownership thinks there's more money. It will probably don't think they probably know there's more money in Vegas, especially with a casino, which makes tons of money. And like you said, everybody wants a team in Vegas. I mean, yeah, you trade away your best player, your future for the next 10 years. And now what? I mean, they're going to lose a ton of money to start. They're going to like, look, we're showing financials now. We gotta do something. We can't just stay here. We thought the AD trade was going to work for us, in quotes there.
And he's already hurt.
I know. Which he's prone to, has been his whole career.
Yeah,
and they traded away for a washing machine.
Well,
we traded Luka away for a washing machine.
We traded Luka because he's just a little chubby.
Yeah, that's so stupid. Obviously, in the games you've seen so far, he's looked just fine. I mean, it's a wild theory, but I mean, people have done pettier shit to get what they want. And, new ownership comes in. They want to make more money. They think it's in casinos. They said, nope. Okay, well, watch this. I mean, we'll see. We'll see.
All right, cool. You don't want to give me what I want? Watch this. I'll trade your baby boy away.
Well, I mean, I think it'll be like 5 years, something like that. Maybe 3. Could be as soon as 3. But
yeah, it didn't really give an exact. I mean, I'll have to look again. It didn't really give an exact like.
When did it say when it comes up? And again, this is from NBA District on Instagram.
Yeah, right? But it was just a theory from a fan on Twitter that they were like, just went on. So again, it's not like a credible source or anything.
Yeah, no, that's just a theory in general we're talking about. But
it looks like they said so final premise. So there you have it. The Adelsons get their leverage. We'll have their new destination resort casino centered on a new Mavs arena in the late 2020s or early 2030s.
Yeah, so that's what I said. 5 years, 2030. That would make sense. And they'll probably know before that if they're going. It'll just take some time to build everything in Vegas. I'm not even sure where the hell they put things in Vegas anymore. They got a whole F1 track. They got the Sphere and all these sports arenas.
The more they add, the less room we have to add different things.
Because I get it. Vegas is cool.
Like, I don't think people don't understand. Like, Vegas in itself really isn't that like big in terms of like.
I mean, it's in the middle of a desert. Like, literally, if you fly over it, it's in the middle of the desert.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's room to grow, but we'll see. I mean, maybe it could be this trade it could have been as simple as Rob Pelinka just swindled everybody on the Mavs and now may even get what he wants with Mark Williams.
Yeah. I mean, and now you're talking. So now it's been reported that Mark Williams is refusing to go back to Charlotte, which is making him a potential buyout candidate for Charlotte. And if he gets bought out, he could just walk to the Lakers, and the Lakers just got everything back in return to what they traded for him, and they're going to get him for whatever they want.
No cost.
Potentially.
Yep.
So, yeah, it's been a lot. And then I think the big what's going to happen big for the Lakers is going to be this offseason. Because, LeBron has a player option. I think he'll opt out of it. I think this will be the year that he's willing to take less money finally. And you're going to see them put another piece around both of them. And
in LA or?
Yeah, it's going to be in LA.
Okay.
I don't think LeBron's going to go anywhere.
Well, I think KD gets traded for sure.
Wouldn't be opposed.
Yeah, I think that would make more sense.
See, and there was also another theory that AD had declined his trade option where he got that bonus if he got traded, and that Dallas was going to move off all these contracts and everything because they were going to say that maybe they all know something we don't know, and LeBron's actually going to walk to the Dallas Mavericks next offseason. And
no,
it was that whole because LeBron's a Cowboy fan and all this and that, and I was like, no, I was like he'd be dumb to if he were to go at this point. Let's be honest. If he goes anywhere else outside of LA, the only other place that would make sense would be a return home part 3.
Yeah.
So, I mean, anything else, you'd be stupid to not retire in LA. So,
Yeah.
So
well, we'll see about this conspiracy theory with the Luka trade. I'm sure we'll be covering it still.
Yeah, there'll still be a lot more to go.
Yep.
But all right, well, I don't have much else, Doug. I think
that pretty much does it.
Lamar should have been the MVP.
Which again, it's still weird hearing you defend him. But hey, guys, if you all like this episode, go give us a follow on whatever podcasting site you listen to, Apple Podcast, Spotify, Amazon. If you listen to Amazon, podcast on Amazon. And then this episode will be on YouTube as well. So go check us out there and give us a follow. If you guys want to hear a certain topic, let us know. We'll talk about it.
And if you want to hop on the show, just give us a holler. Let us know. We will gladly have anybody on.
Yep. All right, guys. Peace out.